Hello to you all. I'm Addis Ababa with OBN English News, and here is the first one. Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed has been named African of the Year 2018 by the African Leadership magazine. PM Dr. Abiy Ahmed resoundingly emerged at the African of the Year 2018 with over 85% of total 1 million votes per submissions. Current Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and the former Minister of Environment of Nigeria, Amina Mohammed, was named African Female Leader of the Year 2018. The winners were unveiled by the publisher of the magazine, Mr. Ken Gyami, at the UK head office of the group. It was noted that the winners shall be decorated and presented with the instruments of honor on the 22nd February 2019 in Johannesburg, South Africa. The Africa Leadership Magazine Person of the Year is an annual award reserved for distinguished Africans who are considered to have blazed the trail in the year under review. It is published by Africa Leadership Limited, a company registered in the United Kingdom with a company number 07435198. The magazine focuses on bringing the best of Africa to a global audience, telling the African story from an African perspective, while involving solutions to peculiar challenges being faced by the continent on Saturday. Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed has held discussions with public representatives draws from all dons of the Oromia regional state at the National Palace in Finfinne City. Fakadu Brano has more on that.
Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed has held discussion with public representatives drawn from zones of the Oromia region at the National Palace. Dr. Abiy underscored that the present victory is gained by the Oromo people, adding that the reform being undertaken is on good condition.
This victory is gained by great sacrifice. This sacrifice is paid by the whole Oromo people. It is important to understand that the whole Oromo people have got their own role.
He also noted that the country has been doing remarkable jobs regarding diplomacy. He stressed that it has got good value in the world in this regard. Dr. Abiy noted that the government is working with due attention to ensure rule of law. He further noted that the mission of the Oromo people is to build a great country, adding that unity is very crucial to do so. The Premier said that the government has the ability to pass the challenges the country is facing now.
We will pass these problems and we will win. We shall also build a great country. Our struggle will never go back hereafter.
Dr. Abiy pointed out that when Oromo get united, it can simply win.
We need unity of the Oromo because we know that if the Oromo is united, it can transform the country and even make others participate in the transformation. So there shouldn't be anybody whom we hate and push away from us. The unity of the Oromo should be the unity of the Oromo political parties. Two strong political parties are enough for the Oromo people.
He said that there are organized individuals and groups who are working to make Oromia a battleground and called upon the public to fight against those criminals in unison.
Our elders should play their part in advising and negotiating our people. Scholars should also think, analyze, and write. They should discuss with each other as well as with the public. The youth should work for the unity of their people.
The Premier accelerates that the government is working to answer questions of the public and is working to provide new philosophy which is generated from the Geda system for the country as well as for Africa.
President of the Oromia Regional State, Lamma Magarsa, says it would be worked to respond to questions of the Oromo people. The remark came out on the discussion held with public representatives drawn from all dons of Oromia at the National Palace in Finfinne City. Aklilu Gabru explains.
On the conference held at National Palace, President of the Oromia Regional State, Lamma Magarsa, said that the future fate of the country lies in the hand of its nations, nationalities and the people. President Lamma added that the government has been working day and night to respond to long-standing Oromo questions.
Hidharra walikun, hidharra namahikun, isa jalqabaati. As the first publication, we have released all political prisoners from the detention center of the country.
Lama remarked that supremacy of law and public accountability has been implemented in the system.
Warra hidhaatti ummata kana biyya kana gashan maaliif ummata kana mana hidhaatti gashan saamuuf.
Oligarchs had gathered individuals to detention centers to easily loot, but at the end of the day, their illegal works have been revealed and brought to justice.
President Lama noted the new leadership is undertaking various reforms to render equal service to all nations and nationalities. The president again called on the nation for unity to obtain fruitful results at the end of the day.
Chief of Staff of the Office of the Prime Minister, Shimalis Abdis, has presented a research paper on the discussion held with public representatives draws from all zones of the Oromia regional states at the National Palace in Finfinne City and called on the Oromo people to get united and build a strong country. Sorich Akabarecha has a story.
Public representatives have held a conference in Finfinne City to discuss issues of Oromo struggle. In this discussion, a research paper focusing on challenges and opportunities of Oromo struggle was presented by the Chief of Staff of the Office of Prime Minister, Shimalis Abdisa. Public representatives of different Oromia zones, Abagedas, religious leaders, high government officials and scholars of Oromos attended the discussion. Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed and President of the Oromia Regional Government, Lama Magarsa, chaired the discussion. Shimalis Abdisa, while presenting the research findings, compared the current political success of Oromos after long years of struggle with 16 centuries Oromo struggle to reform its Geda system when Oromo lost its unity. Shimalis stated that the secret of Oromo's success is its unity. That is why Oromo's enemy are working day and night to break its unity.
Oromon gaafa bittinnaa'u salphata. Gaafa tokko ta'u immoo waa hunda hiika.
Oromo would be humiliated when it lacks unity. When Oromo get united, Oromo become a solution for everything. Enemies are working to separate Oromo is because they know that they defeat Oromo when the Oromo lacks its unity.
Shimalis suggested that strengthening the Geda system of Oromo is the only and the best means to strengthen Oromo's unity. This research paper revealed that the current political success led by the Oromos have saved the country from failure and released thousands of political prisoners in the country and in abroad. It explained that since this change has been brought in the country, freedom of speech and expression was ensured and the country's good image was transformed. Different participants of the discussion for their part stated that they are ready to work with the country's reform leaders to safeguard the unity of Oromos from disintegration and to discharge their responsibility they are carrying.
An maalubbu wareegaman taane yuunivarsiitii koo keessatti rakkoo ka'uuf itti gaafatamaa ta'uun qaba.
I'm ready to sacrifice my life to protect and safeguard the peace of my university. When I'm unable to solve the problem in the university I'm leading, I have to be asked for it. Only saying reform never bring a change. I have to do my best.
An electronic transaction service center built in Awasa town of Southern Nation, Nationality and People's Regional State has been inaugurated. Fakado Brano presented.
Electronic Transaction Service Center, which has been built by the Ethiopian Community Exchange in Awasa town, was inaugurated by Minister of Trade and Industry Fatlework Gabragzabir and the Vice President of the Southern Nation, Nationalities and People's Regional State, Elias Shukri. On the occasion, General Manager of ECX, Wendimageny Nagara, said the Ethiopian Community Exchange has done a reliable job to modernize transaction services of the country in the past 10 years. He adds that it has also played a great role in transforming traditional trade to the modern one. According to Wendimageny, ECX has paid more than 200 billion birr for the exchange of commodities. He knows that 20,000 merchants and 25 million citizens have participated in the process. The newly inaugurated center will serve farmers, unions and merchants from southern region zones of Oromia like Guji and West Guji to get electronic transaction services at their area. Previously, they used to sell their commodities through their representatives in Finfinne City, but now farmers, unions and merchants can directly come to this center and sell their products. Minister of Trade and Industry Fakalawork Gabrexaber, for her part, said the Ethiopian Communities Exchange is working with due attention to supply quality products to the market. She knows that the value of the center will be evaluated by the services it will give to the farmers and its ability to generating foreign currency. Vice President of the Southern Nationalities and People's Regional State, Elias Shukri, said the center is crucial for farmers of the region who are engaged in producing different products.
A renowned anthropologist, Professor Asmarom Leggesa, who is known for his works on the Gada system, has received a warm welcome to Ethiopia at Bole International Airport. Lata Teres has the story.
Professor Asmarom Leggesa, an anthropologist who is well known for his studies and writing on Oromo Gada system, has arrived in Finfinne City, the capital of Ethiopia. Upon his arrival at Bole International Airport, he was warmly welcomed by head of Oromo Democratic Party, ODP Central Office, and Abba Gadas. On the occasion, Professor Asmarom expressed his happiness for coming to Ethiopia again after he left the country since 1995. What he said, "I departed from my friends, the Borona people, at the time." The professor said that he will republish his first book written on Gada system in 1973.
Gada የሚባለው የመጀመሪያ መጽሐፌ በ73 የጻፍኩት እንደ ፈረንጆች አቆጣጠር
My book, which I first wrote on the Gada system in 1973, will be republished, including the studies conducted on the Gada system by myself and other researchers over the last 45 years. It was prepared by including 5 new chapters and revising the previous chapters. Over the last 45 years, the Gada system has brought remarkable changes, including the constitution. This is exemplary both for Africa and the world.
Professor Asmarom vowed to contribute his share to helping the generation sustain the Gada system.
Oromia universities.
I want to have relation with universities in Oromia. My book, which is due to be published, would have great role for them. The universities in Oromia should establish centers jointly. It should be worked on how the Kobe generation and the youth play their level best to continue the research on the Gada system.
Head of the Oromo Democratic Party Central Office, Dr. Alamuseme, applauded the contribution of Professor Asmarom Leggesa to Oromo people.
At the time when culture and identity of the nations, nationalities and peoples of the country were oppressed and neglected, even forced to accept other cultures, Professor Asmarom has played an important role in bequeathing the Gada system to the next generation.
Dr. Alamu said Professor Asmarom couldn't come to Ethiopia due to the conflict that took place between Ethiopia and Eritrea. However, now he is able to come to the country and the problem was solved because of the leadership change. He added that the research of the professor will be used in the work to be done on Gada system.
Professor Asmarom is a scholar who played a significant role in strengthening the relationship between Ethiopia and Eritrean people, especially the relation between Oromo and Eritrean people. He was born from another nation, but contributed a lot for the Oromo. Because of Professor Asmarom, the Oromo people usually remember Eritreans. The same is true for Eritreans. Currently, Oromo has the right to self-determination. It can develop its culture, values, language, and history. Thus, the research of Professor Asmarom Leggesa helped us a lot in this regard.
The Guji Oromo Abba Gadami Daganete has extended his gratitude to Professor Asmarom Leggesa for his work in promoting the Oromo culture.
We came here to welcome him because he conducted a research on our culture to develop it.
Artist Muhammad Ahmed, also known Muhammad Kope, stated that Professor Asmarom has argued that the origin of democracy is Oromia.
It was said that democracy was originated from Greece, but the professor argued that democracy was born in Oromia. He said democracy belongs to Ethiopia and Africa. Although it was not written, it is better than that of the Greece.
Ministry of Culture and Tourism has held discussion with stakeholders in Adama town on ways of supporting investors engaged in culture and arts development sector. It was raised on the discussion that the sector has got less attention from concerned bodies. Artist Desalany Hailu said development of culture is development of society, adding due to failure of using customs of Ethiopian nations, nationalities and peoples, the country loses money in billions every year for the purchase of clothes from China and Turkey. An expert of cultural institutions and professionals development with the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, Tafari Taklo, said the discussion was held to raise awareness of stakeholders and executive bodies or ways of encouraging investors working in the development of the sector. OBN's Samson Antana reported. The news comes to life from Oromia Broadcasting Network. Let's proceed to the news that we have got from abroad. Negotiators in Poland have finally secured agreement on a range of measures that will make the Paris Climate Pact operational in 2020. Last-minute rows over carbon market threatened to derail the two-week summit and delayed it by a day. Delegates believe the new rules will ensure that countries keep their promises to cut carbon. The Katowice agreement aims to deliver the Paris goals of limiting global temperature rises to well below 22 centigrade. Chairman of the talks, known as COP24, Michael Kortek, said putting together in Paris Agreement work program is a big responsibility. The summit accord reached by 196 states outlines plans for a common rule book for all countries, regulations that will govern the nuts and bolts of how countries cut carbon, provide finance to poorer nations, and ensure that everyone is doing what they say they are doing. Sorting out the rule book sounds easy, but it's very technical. Countries often have different definitions and timetables for their carbon-cutting actions. Poor countries want some flexibility in the rules so that they are not overwhelmed with regulations that they don't have the capacity to put into practice. The report said the world is now completely off track, hitting more than 3 centigrade this century, Euronews reported. That brings us to the end for this news edition. Thank you for watching, and I will be back with Peak of the Week after a couple of minutes, so we'll be happier if you join us again.